Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at my Fractal FM3. Now this is the Mark 1 version. They've added some extra stuff, some revisions, like bigger scribble strips and a little bit more compute power to some subsequent models of the FM3. But I really didn't need that stuff. And a little bit of a history with me and Fractal. I used to have the XFX3, the full fat rack version, and absolutely loved it. And I used the 6-button controller for that, and it could do a ton of stuff. But the problem is, I didn't need to do a ton of stuff. As you can see, I have a very simple signal chain here with just an amp, some basic effects, and an impulse response block, and it splits one route that I can run into a power section or power amp and a cabinet on stage if I want to, and the other is just cab sound and direct out to FRFR or to the house, and that's kind of it. So for me, when I got this, I bought it used, and the turbo version of the Mark II, it was out when I bought this, but I really didn't need the extra power that that one had compared to this Mark I version. And the Mark II turbos were much more expensive than what I paid for this. So yeah, I have been using this again for about a year, in addition to using the XFX3 previously for a year. So no problems whatsoever out of these units. I think they are just absolutely fantastic. But we are here because I need to get a review for this out on my channel, because this is going away and I've outgrown it, and we will talk about some of the reasons why and kind of what I'm moving on to after the fact. However, this is going to be, instead of going through all the features and all, like, this isn't going to be a deep dive or anything like that. There are plenty of other channels for that, but this is going to be essentially showing you how I have used this for the past year, the kinds of sounds that I get out of it, and we're going to talk about the effects and the routing and how I personally use this on stage. And we'll kind of wrap up after that and talk about what's next. So in addition to using this with my main band, with the full electric guitars and loud rock music, I've also been using this a lot for my acoustic shows, and I have a separate acoustic patch set up that essentially is just a preamp block for the amp and an impulse response and a couple of effects and some EQ and compression and stuff like that, and it sounds wonderful for that as well. So again, it's a very flexible unit for its size and the sounds that you can get out of it. So it's been a great little unit that has served me well for numerous purposes, and yeah, I'm going to talk about how I've been using this. All right, so let's get going here. The signal path for today is the Tokai LS150 with the Brian Conahack PAF Sheptone Pickups. It's going into the Golden Boy down here for the boost, and then back up in here out to my interface, and that's it. Now, when it was on my board, I would use my wah pedal and a volume pedal to kind of clean up the sound a little bit. But that's really it. There wasn't a whole lot of extra stuff that I needed to do to get this doing everything that I needed to on stage. Okay, so the main amplifier block that I'm using here, we'll go ahead and pull this up, is the Friedman HPE. This is the 2010. There's several different Friedmans in here, several different HPEs. But I prefer the sound and the feel of the 2010 the best. Now, I'm going to slowly click through the different pages so you guys can see all of the settings, but basically, yeah, you can see all these Friedmans listed here, and there's more on the next page. But so these are my settings here, and I will click through these in case you want to try this out with your FM3 or FM9 or XFX3. And a lot of the stuff I've just left at the default. I am using the saturation engaged. I have the cut engaged. I've changed the preamp tube. I tweaked the bright cap. I didn't change anything with the power amp section here. Didn't change anything with the power supply. Didn't change that. Didn't change anything here. I have no idea what any of this is. Yeah, so, yeah. All right, so in my Tone Master Pro video, I alluded to the difficulty of using this on stage. It's basically impossible unless you have spent a lot of time really familiarizing yourself with all of these menus and settings. And even then, it's still not a fast process to whip through these menus if you have something that you need to change. But I think that most players that gig with these have got all of the nitty gritty stuff with like the power and the transformer settings and all that stuff. They've probably, you guys have probably all got that in a kind of a set it and forget it place, and are mainly just using this primary EQ screen with your knobs that you would typically find on the front of the amp for your quick interaction functions. And for the most part, that's how I've used it. I do have this drive block in here, but again, I don't really use it on stage because I would have to configure a separate foot switch to control that, since I use these for chorus, delay, and solo boost. So even though it's in there, I kind of let you guys hear what I have it set to, but I never used it. I always just preferred using a drive pedal in front. It always sounds the best to me. Let's see what we got here. The chorus, dimension, one of my favorites, no surprise there. Here are the settings. Now, I didn't get as kind of big and lush with the dimension chorus as I did on the Nano Cortex and the Tone Master Pro. So it's a bit more pulled back, but it's there. It's enough. Again, like I didn't mess with any of this stuff. And the only real thing I set was the mix and the level to make sure that it wasn't too quiet or too loud or overpowering anything, and that's kind of it for the chorus. Delay, use this a ton. We'll go in here and check this out. This is the ambient stereo delay. Here are the settings for that. Again, I didn't mess with any of these things. Didn't mess with any of that. Again, just like the chorus, it's just the mix and the level controls, the only things that I've messed with. All right, moving on to the reverb. Edit that. Large room. Here are the settings for that. I don't think I messed with, again, with any of this stuff. Again, I'm a very simple creature when it comes to all these effects. I just need them to sound a specific way, but after that, I'm kind of good. And the specific way I like them to sound is not very complicated or weird sounding. So this is the chorus. I do have a volume block on here for my solo. I'll go ahead and show you that. So it's set to a volume mode, and the, let's see, output level 3 dBs. So that's how much I boost for my solos. Now, where it splits here, I like that you can do this very easily in the software. I still have no idea how to do it on here. It's probably not hard once you know how, but I never figured that out. I just always used the software to poke around with it. So if I needed to do this on stage, I'd be completely screwed. But anyways, it splits here into two different EQs. One EQ for the DI signal and one EQ for the signal that goes to a power amp and speaker cabinet. And again, they're basically kind of, let's see, this is what that looks like. And again, if you guys want to set yours up like this, you can just pause the video, write down these settings, or screenshot the video, and yeah, we'll get going here. Oh, cabinet. I'm using two different impulse responses from ML Sound Labs, the Megagent 7BC and the Megagent 7BE. They both sound very good together. And let's see. Do I have anything? Standard IR length. I didn't really hear much of a difference with the ultra resolution. And these are the settings. No room or anything like that. I didn't mess with any of that. I did change the preamp quality to high quality, but again, that's it. Nothing fancy. And then last but not least, on the input block, I'm just using the easy gate. Nothing fancy there because I don't use a ton of gain on stage, so I really don't need a ton of gate on the stage. So that is how I have this patch set up. And again, it's very simple, easy to navigate, easy to wrap your head around. And for what I do with this, the FM3 is an absolutely perfect unit. And again, I did not need any of the extra processing power from the turbo version, so I was able to save, I think, $400 or $500 compared, off brand new for the turbo compared to what this one cost me used. So that is how I have this thing set up, and I will go ahead and play a little bit more, and we'll listen to it kind of cleaned up a little bit if I were doing some lighter gain stuff. And again, we will listen to it with the Golden Boy because that's how I've boosted this thing when I used it. So this is no boost, and none of the effects are on except for reverb. All right, we're going to go to the boost setting on the Golden Boy. It is the blue boost. Yeah, the dark blue, not the light blue. So a little bit more gain, a little bit less cut in the top end, but a little bit more low end added. All right, boost is off, and now I'll go to the drive boost, which is the orange boost. Now that's more of a Marshall, they kind of brand it as a Marshall type sound, but it's not a big saturated gain. It's not very big, or I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of a thin gain, but it's got just enough bite to it that you can use it to kind of get a little bit more of a cut in your sound without having to add a ton of gain. But on the flip side, you do have to crank the gain if you want to have kind of a meaningful amount of boost. But on the other flip side, you can easily stack that overdrive sound with the clean boost side of the pedal to kind of cascade your gain without it going over the top with the saturation, noise, and stuff like that. So again, let's go ahead and listen to it. No boost. And the drive boost. All right, let's hear it with the blue clean boost cascading into it. All right, both boosts are off. Let's go back to the boost inside the unit here, the drive that I have. Go to edit so we can see what's going on. Unbypass it. The BB boost, the BB pre-boost drive, it kind of pushes the mid-range, kind of chunks the mid-range up a little bit, and it doesn't add a ton of saturation. So again, it lets you kind of really fine-tune how much gain you want out of it without going instantly over the top the way some of these other drives do. So it sounds like with the gain, again, like I'm kind of somewhat discovering this for the first time. I initially set up this patch just to have a little something in there if I wanted to set it up, and kind of never did, so I'm sort of discovering what this does to the sound along here with you guys. But the gain control, it seems like it's what adds that mid-range push, and the volume just sort of adds a little extra thickness to the sound. So yeah, there's a bunch of different drives in here. That just happens to be the one that I thought kind of complemented this sound the best. But again, never really used it. In fact, I actually think that the amp's built-in gain sounds better. So right here, yeah, we've got this input boost that you can kick on, and this boost type you can scroll here and change through some of the different boosts. Shred. Neutral's the one I always just kind of went back to. I played around with a bunch of them, and again, the nice thing about this unit is that any of these buttons or a external foot switch you can use to toggle. See this little, like, there's a little yellow circle around these. You can use a foot switch to toggle this value on or off, or you can use the foot switch to toggle this boost level, like, between different values. So it's really neat that you can kind of control everything on here with the switch. So let's see, this is without the input boost on. That one's not bad right there. I like the cut on that one. Like the cut of his jib. much gain on that one, but it does cut pretty well. That was pretty good also. All right, well that is the different input boosts, and I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this part up. I think we have heard kind of everything that we need to hear out of the unit itself, other than cleaning up. All right, now the volume pedal is kind of over here at a weird angle, so I'm gonna kind of try to contort around to get to the volume pedal here. It's all the way off right now. So that's kind of how I did my cleans on the stage with the FM3. And again, with the Axe FX3, I actually did use a separate amp block. I liked the, it was the CAE clean channel, I believe. Either that or the Bogner Shiva clean. I think both of those were outstanding clean amps. Okay, well, that is going to be everything for this unit. And the reason I wanted to get a video out, like I said in the beginning, is because I'm selling this. I have outgrown this unit, and I want to consolidate more of my actual pedals that I use into a single unit that this one really can't facilitate. Now, most of you would assume that the next logical step with this would be to move to the FM9, which is just like the massive full-size Helix floorboard kind of big mamma jamma that has way more processing power, more switching capabilities, and seems like the thing that would be the natural next step for someone who has outgrown an FM3. However, as you guys have probably guessed, I really, really, really like the sound of my Nano Cortex. Once I heard the captures that thing grabbed from my Nitro, the SLO, and the Jubilee, it was kind of just game over for everything at that point. And I'm going to be doing a video on my new setup and going to be throwing this on reverb, and I have got probably 40, 50, maybe more impulse responses loaded in here. Lots of the ML Sound Labs, lots of the own hammers, things like that. So whoever gets this will get a lot of impulse responses to play around with. It does have a different cabinet. Let me go ahead and show you that while we're talking about this thing. Go ahead, store it. And you will have to forgive me for being an absolute idiot with the cabinet block here while I try to kind of fumble around on a completely different type So DynaCab, can go with that. And here you can see it looks completely different. Now DynaCab is essentially like their version of a cabinet simulation where you have your representation of the microphone position relative to the speaker cone, different microphone options to pick from, and you've got your EQ that you can mess around with like the low and high end. So let's go ahead and change this. Go to the 412. I think the Friedman V30, and I want to turn this off if possible. Mute. So right now we are hearing just the Friedman cab, and I'm not sure how it's going to come out in the actual audio because it's set to left and right. Oh, volume pedal was halfway. All right, here we go. So I've got a little bit too much boom coming there, so I'm going to change to this. Set my low cut to about 65. Let's see what that does. So right away, great sound there. Haven't messed with any of the actual kind of microphone position settings. So let's go ahead, kind of bring it closer. And so you can see the little red dot. That's showing kind of position to the cone. Center, edge. All right, let's go ahead and mute that, and we will go to the other side. Change it to, let's go to the same cabinet just so we got kind of a uniform sound here. Leave it on the condenser. Let's just see what it sounds like here. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and, oh, there's even more settings. Of course there are. There's always more settings. Change this low cut, bring it up a little bit. Don't want it too boomy. It's nice and smooth and fat. That might work with this other dynamic mic over here that I've got a little bit brighter. Really good sound right there. Now, it's not the first time I've messed around with the DynaCab. I've done actually quite a lot of it, but not on the unit itself. And although it's 1,000 times easier in the software. This isn't a terrible experience. But yeah, there's like a trillion settings for these things. We're just gonna leave it there. Little golden boy. All right, I can kill this. Okay, so I think if I could sum up my 1-year experience owning the FM3, I would probably lump it into the same generalizations that I have with the full fat AXFX3, and that it's kind of very much a tale of two devices. Not in that two devices of the FM3 and the AXFX3, but rather two devices, one using the Fractal products at home and two using them on stage. The experiences could not be more different. Anything that you want to mess with in this unit feels like an order of magnitude more difficult just on the unit itself. And in my ToneMaster Pro video, I sort of lamented the fact that it feels like the guys at Fractal developed this interface, this user experience, messing with these settings like a programmer and not a layman, like a regular kind of basic user who needs to just get in there, get something done, and then get to playing. And I kind of understand why, because the amount of stuff that they let you mess with in every block setting is dizzying, and they have to accommodate that on the physical unit in the event that you don't have access to a computer. And I don't really see an easy way to do anything like that other than just throw a trillion menus at you and kind of just let you dig through them and figure things out. And I think that that's kind of the biggest double-edged sword for not just this, but all of the Fractal products, is that you do have an absolutely eye-watering amount of customizations that you can do to everything. And if you are after a specific sound, I don't think any other product on the market will do. I think you have to get an AXFX3 or an FM3 or an FM9 because those three products are the only units that will let you dig into every single little nitpicky setting. And I know that for a lot of players out there, that's what they want. They have the sound in their head. And if you have the sound in your head, I'm convinced that the Fractal stuff can deliver it, assuming you have the time to sit down with it and really go through it. And go through this, I have. Go through the AXFX3, I did. It was hours and hours and hours watching tons of videos. Man, Leon Todd's channel has been an absolute goldmine for me for not just this, but for the AXFX3, for how to mess with stuff in the software, configuring foot switches and stuff like that. And I'm glad that those resources exist. I'm glad that people like Todd are out there like really showing us how to extract the most out of these units. But I hate the fact that I'm having to sit there and just watch these YouTube videos and read through forum posts and things like that just to do something that I feel is very basic. And again, if you mess with it enough, these basic things probably turn out to be very easy and simple and straightforward. But if you don't know how to do it and you've never done it before, it is the learning curve is absolutely atrocious. And although the software does make things a lot easier, there are still things in the software that are very confusing, like programming foot switches and external foot switches and things like that. Like I don't even want to think about trying to use MIDI with this thing. Like just setting these foot switches alone are bad enough. And oh, by the way, like if you accidentally hit two of these at the same time, it just throws you into some completely different configuration of the switches. And I had that happen a couple of times at shows where I just lost the ability to hit chorus and delay and solo and just had to play out the rest of the set with the sound that I had, and good luck kind of figuring it out during a set break. And then on the FC6, the 6-button controller that I had with the XFX3, I had the same thing happen at a show where I think I hit both of the 2 buttons on the right-hand side, and it took me to a different bank of foot switch settings. I was like, I didn't even know this existed. But again, like for the layman, like it's very frustrating, but for the person who really wants to maximize the capabilities of it, like that's there. Like it can do all that stuff. But for me, the overly complicated interface, it just kind of got old, and I don't want to really fool with it anymore. And other than this not being able to do everything that I want it to do, I've sort of outgrown the capabilities of this unit. I don't want to continue to be saddled with the burdensome interface and all the complex menus and things like that. So that's why I didn't go to the FM9. And again, I love the unit. I love the sounds that I can get out of it, but I just hate all of the extra noise happening around the core user experience. And I think what kind of pushed me over the edge mentally with this was when I got the ToneMaster Pro. It doesn't have any of these crazy menus or anything like that. It doesn't have power section settings or transformer settings or voltage. You can't do any of that on there. But what you can do is just pull up an amp, pull up a cabinet, quickly shift to an impulse response that you like, and just start playing. And you can program the switches to do anything that you need. You can have up to 5 or 6 different individual commands. It's deceptively powerful for how simple and straightforward the user experience and the interface is. And again, it's just a monster of a processor in that thing that can do a whole lot. And I think just the breath of fresh air that the ToneMaster Pro gave me in terms of having something that A, was very powerful, B, was extremely easy to set up and get an immediately outstanding sound, C, very easy to program the foot switches the way that I needed it to, and during a gig. Like I first pulled out the ToneMaster Pro during a gig when a tube started acting up in the SLO. I just happened to have it in the car, had not touched it. I got it that day, threw it in the car, and I was like, I'll mess with it during sound check and kind of see how it sounds. Never got around to doing that because we had just a ton of people at the show during our sound check. So I didn't really mess with it then, but when the amp started acting up, I ran to the car, grabbed the ToneMaster Pro, came back, did some cable swaps, pulled up the Plexi model on there, which if you've watched any of my ToneMaster Pro videos, you know the Plexi sounds amazing in that amp, or in that modeler. And literally just started playing and finished the set without a single problem, sounded great, and within 5 minutes, I had gone from no amplifier on stage, out to the car, back in, plugged in, turned it on, gotten the Plexi patch pulled up, and was playing again. I went back and checked the time code on the video, and it was 5 minutes that I was out at the car and back on stage and making music again. So again, it was a breath of fresh air, and it opened my eyes to the fact that although I do like the fact that I have all of the extra stuff in the FM3, the extra capabilities and the tone shaping features and all that stuff, I don't use it, and I don't really think that it hurts the experience to not have that in the ToneMaster Pro or in the Nano Cortex or in even the Helix stuff doesn't really have a whole lot that you can mess with. The Helix stuff, they have a couple of things in there, but certainly nothing nearly as deep as this. So I know I'm rambling here, but I wanted to kind of get my whole headspace and philosophy out to you guys to explain why I'm moving on from not just this, but from all of the Fractal stuff. I think that they sound terrific. I think they can do a ton. And there are guys out there who I understand why they would swear by these. Unfortunately, my time with Fractal products has come to an end for now. Who knows what the next generation of Fractal stuff will bring. I'm probably 100% sure I will at least try something from whatever their next generation of stuff is. But for this generation, I'm bowing out and moving on. And I had a great time. It was been over 2.5 years that I've had a Fractal product in my house, in my studio, and 2 years with them on stage, and sounding awesome. So again, no complaints from that perspective. So yeah, we are done with this video, and I'm about to start recording the next video that we're going to discuss the replacement. And you can probably tell what it is. I bet you can guess by the way I've been talking. But anyways, I will see you in that video. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button and give this thing a thumbs up to feed the algorithm, help me grow my channel. And as always, in the video description, I will have links to everything that I have used in this video to make these sounds happen. And if it's something with Zounds that I'm an affiliate partner with, those will be affiliate links. And if you guys use those, doesn't cost you anything extra, but does help me out quite a bit. Every little bit helps. So yeah, I will talk to you guys in the next video, and I appreciate you hanging out. And I know this probably wasn't the most exciting video or the most entertaining video, but hopefully it shed a lot of insight, and maybe it gave you some things to think about, whether you are on the fence with Fractal or you do already have a Fractal item and you're kind of starting to feel the same way that I am. Maybe it gave you a little bit of food for thought. So anyways, I will see you guys in the next video, and I thank you for hanging out with me in this one. Take care.